is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
Man, it feels great to be a Duck.
Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
Third competitors, they'll want to put the O on.
Three, got it!
We're going to compete to a standard every day.
The Oregon standard.
Rebound. Up and in. 1 point more to go.
The opportunity to play, put Oregon on your chest, should mean a great deal to you.
Unloads on one into left field, back toward the wall. Gone!
This program is staged to compete and to win championships.
Oregon wins!
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, let's talk Oregon athletics.
Busy show today. Joey Mack here with you in the Country Financial Studio. We've got multiple Pac-12 and National Player of the Week honors to tell you about. Tip-off Tuesday coming up this afternoon. It's senior weekend for Oregon basketball, celebrating Will Richardson, among others. We'll talk about that with Dana Altman on Tip-off Tuesday. Cal, 8 o'clock on Thursday. Stanford, 1 o'clock on Saturday. And a top 4 seed in the Pac-12 tournament is still very much in play for the Ducks. So again, here's who you're rooting for. 1, go Ducks. 2, go Bruins. And then after that, if it's go Ducks, it can be kind of go Trojans, but really it's just go Ducks. Because Oregon owns the tiebreaker. Should the Ducks win 2 games this weekend, Oregon owns the tiebreaker with Arizona State by virtue of being 1-0 against USC, whereas Arizona State is 1-1 against USC. So that means that the tiebreaker, because both of those teams are 1-1 against Arizona and would be 0-2 against UCLA, Oregon would be the 4 seed in the Vegas tournament. At the end of the day, what's Coach Altman going to tell you on Tip-Off Tuesday? Control what you can control, and what you can control is get a win Thursday and then get a win Saturday. But a top 4 seed is still very much in play. It certainly makes things easier if you're trying to win the tournament to play 3 games and not play 4. That's why that first-round bye is so important. Also today, Melyssa Lombardi, Oregon softball head coach. She'll join us here in the Country Financial Studio following a great weekend for Stevie Hansen and the rest of the Oregon softball team. And tomorrow, no show because we'll all be tuned in to Oregon women's basketball. A 2 o'clock pregame show with Terry Johns on the Oregon Sports Network. 2:30 scheduled tip-off. It's going to be later than that because the second game in a tournament session always is. A little after 2:30 on Pac-12 Network, and Terry Johns will have the radio call here on the Oregon Sports Network. Kelly Graves met with the media yesterday after practice. We have that for you coming up, previewing the Pac-12 tournament. Real quick, talking about women's basketball. Oregon senior India Rogers was voted to the All-Pac-12 team for the 3rd straight year. She highlighted 4 Ducks who earned all-conference accolades in a vote of the league's head coaches. The conference announced it today. Oregon freshman Chance Gray and Grace Van Sluten were both selected to the conference's all-freshman team, and Van Sluten and junior Tina Pow were named All-Pac-12 honorable mention. Gray also garnered Pac-12 All-Defensive Team honorable mention recognition. Congratulations to the Ducks. And Stevie Hansen, talking about Oregon softball, back to them for a moment. All Pac-12 caliber weekend. The Pac-12 Pitcher of the Week and multiple National Pitcher of the Week honors coming her way, perhaps most notably from D1Softball.com. They're probably the authority on Division I softball. Stevie Hansen, congratulations to her. And Oregon lacrosse, Haley Taylor, the sophomore, received Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week honors on Tuesday. Happy to report that Chelsea Hoffman will be with us later on the show this week before they travel to play Navy and George Mason, coincidentally, Coach Hoffman's alma mater, this weekend. A lot of other awards coming. But now we turn our attention to the leadoff hitter in the batting order today. I'm in a Diamond sports mood. Da'Mon Merkerson is here. Senior Associate Athletic Director for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. It's been a while since we've had you in the Country Financial Studio. The obvious question, are you settled in?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I'm going to say, first of all, it was my wife's birthday yesterday.
Hey.
So we had a great time.
Good.
We feel like we're settled for the most
Good.
part, getting the lay of the land.
I love that.
Yeah.
Since we've last spoke, I have to be really honest here. So there have been so many features, content series to discuss. You've seen many of them celebrating Black History Month, for example, in venue. If you've been at some of the games around Oregon athletics, you've seen a lot of this. Oregon football's been doing their spectacular content series. You've seen a lot of it on social media. Maybe I'm stating the obvious here, but I want to do this on the air. Since you got here, there has been so much more recognition of diversity in the community, all of these content series, and I just say thanks for being here and well done.
I appreciate it. You know, I enjoy this work. This place has been committed to this mission, you know, prior to me getting here, and I've just enjoyed being able to kind of guide and bring a little bit more strategy to it all. So it's been cool, man. Everything has been great.
It's been awesome to see. So let's begin then with it is Black History Month, and that's why when I scheduled this day, I thought, okay, well, this is going to time out well. You know, it's the last day of February. Sure. We were actually just discussing in the studio before you got here that there's no leap day this year. So it is the last day of February. Sometimes I forget that February 29th exists. Do you have any friends that were born on February 29th?
Some friends' kids. Yeah, my friends' kids born. It's hilarious. They're only 3.
Yeah.
I guess technically.
Right. Yeah. So do you celebrate on the 28th or on the 1st?
You know, I always ask him this, and he switches sometimes. Really? Yeah, which is weird. I'm like, why would you make it consistent? Sometimes it's the 28th. Some years it's the 1st.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, these are the hard-hitting questions then for you on Duck Insider today. Da'Mon, though, it's been a cool thing for me to observe. For example, during the UCLA basketball game. Mm-hmm. You have student athletes from Oregon men's basketball and coaches talking about the impact of Black History Month and the celebration. Just how impactful is that for you in seeing that in venue with some of the student athletes and beyond even the student athlete community?
Yeah, I think in any celebratory month, man, it's always important to give agency to that group, allow them to tell their stories, and provide them with a platform to really educate the community and for us all to educate ourselves. You know, I don't think anyone disagree that Black History Month shouldn't be confined to a month, but you know what we do utilize the month for is an opportunity to, you know, whether it bring awareness to Black-owned businesses or just in particular cultures within our teams. You know, sometimes we think about Blackness in a very, very monolith, and really it's very diverse within itself. So I always love when students take the initiative to, you know, to take upon those projects and do that work themselves.
Yeah, you bring up a really interesting point about like celebratory months, holidays. Like I think we have these throughout the calendar year to serve as like touch point reminders of things, but it's harder to practice some of it throughout the entire year, right? Sure. Like that's a really interesting point that you bring up. Like we all should remember that over the course of an entire year. You know, it's not just the holidays, for example.
Yeah, and then sometimes not even, you know, you get so conditioned to celebrate a holiday, you forget why the point of it became a holiday in the first place, right? You know, Black History Month, for example, started out as Negro History Week. Yeah. And a lot of it was surrounded by the erasure of, you know, Black Americans' history within the greater scheme of things. So, you know, when you talk about why are we confiding it to a month, because it should be more incorporated, and sometimes it isn't. So that's a part of some of the origins, you know, with Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who is the creator and founder of Negro History Week, later becoming Black History Month, had in mind.
That's like, you know, the age-old example of that is if we all think about a holiday as just a day off from work, then the holiday just isn't what it was supposed to be initially anymore, right? Like that. Exactly. That's really interesting. Similarly, like Juneteenth now, a holiday that the University of Oregon has recognized since 2021, still a new thing, and it's important to remember why we even have that holiday in the first place.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, you understand when, you know, the enslavement was abolished. You know, it didn't reach a certain part of the country. You know, there are parts of the country that were continuing to, you know, get their last crops and their last harvest from the enslaved people, and that message didn't reach, you know, Galveston, Texas until June 19th. Right. And it's a point of reference where in African American communities and certain parts of the country, it's always been celebrated, but it's just one of those stories that, you know, again, depending on how diverse your group that you're around with, that you ever heard of it. So I think the University of Oregon recognizing it as a holiday that we engage in as a campus was a big, good step in the right direction. Not nearly enough, but it's definitely in the right direction for sure.
Da'Mon Merkerson joining us, Senior Associate Athletic Director, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. You are somebody I feel like that has a lot of difficult conversations. We've talked about that on the show in the past. If you've missed some of Da'Mon's previous appearances, I encourage you to check them out. Brady asked today if we were going to get your 2-minute life story. I told him that we already got it. So, Brady's going to go back and tune in for that, for example. When you talk to student athletes and you engage with the communities that you engage with, how often are you referencing history? Because I feel like every time you and I have talked, you always have a historic example of these various things. And it's really educational for me. And I don't know, I just really appreciate that level of conversation. Is that something that you really use a lot?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, it's important to understand the context. We do land acknowledgments before any and all presentations I do about the Calapooya that originally had this land, and I always start off with that because it's understanding the context will help us understand why we need equity in certain groups and in certain places. So history is always a great guiding principle, and it's pertinent to understand that history is not always told from the perspective of different people, right? So I try to always begin with that just so we have an understanding on an equal footing.
Yeah, I mean the old adage, right? Like history is written by the victor.
Correct. Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. What else? We talked about some of the in-game features that I referenced. What else have you been working on? What else have you been proud of over this month?
Yeah, last night, for example, Jamil Hill, an incredible broadcaster and journalist, was on campus and spoke to our campus community. A few student athletes got a chance to speak with her. I got a chance to listen in, and it was just an incredible keynote. I think there are a lot of staff that really admire her, admire her journey, and it was just really incredible just to hear, how that path, the trials and tribulations she went through to get to where she was, and how she used her platform now to continue to move for her mission. So really cool.
What a powerful story to hear, but also just an influential conversation from an influencer for the campus community to hear. How did it come together?
Yeah, well, the Black Cultural Center really spearheaded this mission, and securing her as a speaker. Had a chance to work with Dr. Eris Hall, one of the many things we've collaborated on this Black History Month, to help her and get a tour set up and get her engaged with some of our student athletes and staff. Lydia Gibbs from football, Belle Rowley from women's soccer, just to name a few of the people that got a chance to engage with Jamil while she was on campus.
Outstanding. I mean, you talk about somebody who's very influential, even my little niche of the world, right? Talk about somebody who's influential, who's been through a lot, even in the journalism industry. That's an awesome engagement. We also talk about the content series for football. How proud are you of that and seeing everything that the Oregon football team is turning out? If you haven't seen it, we've been talking about it on the show. Encourage you to follow along with Oregon football social media. Some very candid conversations happening.
Yeah, and I love it because that's football. As the lead in this DEI space for the department, I do not tell everybody what to do. I give them guidance and try to help them empower their teammates. So, football, they have a young new director of player development, Usman, who's doing some amazing things. He's in the series, and he's just asking some really good, engaging questions. And you get to see perspectives not only from the Black student athletes, but also their allies, some of the white student athletes, the players on there. And it's important that we engage everybody in the conversation, especially in those celebratory months, because we all take some responsibility, and it's not just falling on that specific group, but us as as a team, as a department.
Powerful.
So,
it's really powerful. You've mentioned now a couple times the Black Cultural Center. Just how great has that connection and that as a resource been for you since you got here?
Again, it's unmeasurable. I can't even describe the level of security, a safe space for a student population that is very minute on the campus, right? And sometimes can feel marginalized and pushed to the corners. So for that to be a safe space to go study, get resources. You mentioned programming. One of the things we did, as well as an in-game series, is collaborate with Happy Hair Studio, which stands for Hair Artists in Pursuit of Inclusion, and they came to campus to do hair for free. Hair care for Black staff, students, or just the community is really lacking here in Eugene. 3,000 Black citizens and maybe 3 studios or hair studios that actually do Black hair. So that one day on campus that we paid for people to come get their hair was very appreciated.
Yeah.
And it's amazing we had a space that could be the hub for that type of event.
Just seeing the reaction from some of the student athletes,
yeah,
that's rewarding, right?
Yeah,
like, that's what this is all about.
Very, very. That's what you do it. I mean, again, you want to create equity for everybody and all people. And again, we use Black History Month as a catalyst for this, but it's not. The work doesn't stop there, right? I'm going to continue to go throughout the year doing more and more.
Well, I've got a lot more to talk to you about.
Oh, let's go.
Time out.
Yeah, let me take a break.
Okay.
Get a water.
All right, good. You got. See, he came prepared. I want everybody to know. He came prepared. Was what did we say? Like 18 minutes early. I mean, it was great. So Da'Mon Merkerson is here, and he's going to stick around. He probably could host the show the rest of the way. Maybe he'll do that. We'll find out next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
We all make choices about alcohol. Kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad. Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations, and they want honest answers in everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path, because when you talk, they hear you. Learn more at underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Meet Ed, movie buff, animal lover, safe driver.
5 years of driving an ambulance teaches you a thing or two. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. When I see a car trying to rush past a turning bus, I get concerned. You see, when big vehicles turn right, they have to swing wide to make the turn. And that's a lesson you don't want to learn the hard way. When trucks and buses turn, let's you and I wait.
It's our roads. It's our safety. Visit www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
We are back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack and Da'Mon Merkerson joining us in the Country Financial studio. I asked you earlier if you had settled in, and now I got to ask you, are you ready to host the show?
Oh, listen, this is a dream right here. I'm ready. I'm TV made. You know what I mean? I'm ready. I'm ready for it. This is the goal.
Okay, so we have a long-running conversation point that Matt Ulmer and Kelly Graves, we're going to co-host a show.
Okay.
And I would just sit off in the distance and just let them do whatever they want.
Do their thing, okay.
I think that we might need to add you to that mix to actually keep it on the rails.
Oh, I know it. I'll keep us on. Listen, I'll keep us on point. I'll interrupt people in a nice way with a little finesse. And then hopefully keep it funny for those that think I'm funny. I don't know.
You'll fit right in with them.
Yeah,
you will fit right in. So we might have to do that. So Coach Ulmer, Coach Graves, just be aware that might be coming. One thing that was cool around the campus community that I wanted to ask you about is there's a movie that a lot of us have seen, especially in the sports world, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he's been heavily involved in the production of this film. Got the chance to hear from the director on campus. Yeah. That was a cool opportunity.
Oh, listen, man. Akin Amatuso, the director of Rise, and hearing him talk about the vision, the movie, the story on itself is just incredible. I mean, I could just listen to Giannis' story with his family and just be, always impacted. But looking at how, Akin went about capturing, his Greek roots while his Nigerian roots, and also the struggle that his father and his mother went through, and just navigating the space of, forget just having a job, feeling like you're going to be deported, right, or been taken out of the place that you grew up, you were born in. It was done in such a great. The soundtrack is great, man, and when you get that chance to hear from the director and that vision, it's just a unique space, and I'm glad our student athletes and staff got to experience that.
Yeah, it was an awesome thing a few weeks ago, and so those of you who listen and watch the show every day, I had mentioned it, and I thought, like, gosh, I need to hear from people who actually got the opportunity to go, and so I wanted to make sure that we asked you about that. Similarly, I had the chance to talk with some of the Oregon men's basketball team about this, but Michael Kidd-Gilchrist was on campus the first week of February, and he has a really interesting story because he is the founder of Change and Impact Inc., and he's actually gone through a lot of issues with stuttering in his life. And so he talked about how speech therapy and having that public presence is so important. I mean, just another opportunity for someone to hear about a different story.
Yeah, and I love when athletes, right, show their, how the diversity and, their breadth of knowledge and expertise in other areas, right? And for our men's basketball players, Coach Menenga always does a good job in bringing up those instances and those things and talking about it with the team. But more specifically, seeing him on campus with the communication department, right? Yeah. He partnered with the academic unit on our campus to talk about this issue and talk about his work. And it's again, it just shows you that our athletes have such depth to them and have so much opportunities.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting hearing about, like, you talk about the communication aspect and just how important that is. Yeah. Not just in, like, if you're going to be a professional athlete, you're going to do interviews with a person like me, but also just in daily life, just a communication. Like, I can't imagine in hearing a story like that from Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, somebody who is such a public figure. Right. It's got to be a big deal. Like, you talk about athletes that maybe are a little more shy, that are inside their own shell. Like, man, that's powerful. Yeah,
and it's an assumed thing, right? A lot of people make assumptions about, hey, you do all this speaking in front of people, or you're playing in front of hundreds of thousands, and like playing in front of hundreds of thousands and speaking, whether you have a speech, impediment or not, is not an easy thing to do. Sure. And so I was really cool event. Really happy our campus got him here.
I would much rather talk to a camera with nobody else in the room than a bunch of people see it here versus talk to an audience of 100 people. You know, like I don't know.
Different skill set. You got to tap in.
Yeah, I've still never quite figured out what exactly it is about that.
Yeah. And it's weird, like weird solutions I've heard, like picture people in their underwear. Like I've heard stuff like that. Yeah. Like, why would that make me comfortable?
Yeah, exactly.
Looking at me in their underwear and talking. I hate that expression.
I've always thought that too. What's worked for me in public settings is I'll say, like, just imagine that, like, my grandma is in the audience and I'm talking to her.
Yeah, that's good.
Because, like, better. Grandma's always going to be supportive.
Right. Yeah, baby, you did good, even though, you stuttered, but you did good.
Exactly.
I'm proud of you.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I did want to ask you in a larger context and to kind of just update fans on what your day-to-day is looking like. A lot of programming that we've been talking about around Black History Month, but what else have you been up to? What else do you want to share with fans? What else have we missed?
Sure. Honestly, for me, it's been connecting with campus. I think a big component of what I always want to do from our student standpoint is get them in touch with what's happening on campus. And we have some amazing programming things happening on campus. We have Aisha, who's the Black Woman podcast person from Eugene for Women's History Month, doing a speech on Wednesday. So that's one of the things I'm really getting hyped about. Some other collaborations taking place. Some I can't mention right now because it's not solidified, but it's been really good and really cool. Some workshops with the teams. That's been really fun. Just talking about some of the different things I can help provide them, whether it be talking about microaggressions, implicit bias, and so on and so forth. And it's just been fun getting to know, more and more staff. Again, I've only been here 6-7 months,
right.
So there's still so much I need to, so many people I still need to meet and talk with. But I'm chopping away each day.
Well, I'm glad you're here because this is a conversation. These are conversations that I think we all know are important to have, but having a lightning rod for anything is helpful, and I think you've been that, which has just been fun for me even to get the chance to talk with you about.
Same.
For example, like these are difficult conversations, and you have a lot of difficult conversations. You and I talked about this a little bit off the air and on the air previously. there's such a conversation, for example, right now around gun violence and how that has really impacted even just recently on the Michigan State campus.
Sure.
And, I am a teacher on campus also, and I have students right now that are actually doing a story about this very subject. If students around the University of Oregon campus feel safe and if they're thinking about it more after it happens at a place like Michigan State.
Right.
You have conversations about these sorts of subjects all the time. How do you do that? How do you foster a relationship with the community that you're in? Like, I don't know, just take us inside your process if you could. I'm just curious to hear from an expert on the subject.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, the first thing, it always starts with empathy. It's before within any of the discussions or workshops I do, I always do a check-in, just a temperature check, right? And acknowledge that, there's so much happening that we're aware of and then maybe we're not aware of, right? If we're following international news, I could probably find something that's affecting somebody every single day. And because we're the most diverse unit on the campus, we probably have a student or a staff member that's affected by something every single day. So I think regularly doing check-ins, creating and fostering a space that has psychological safety where staff and students feel like they can come to coaches and be like, Coach, I'm not feeling it and this is happening, and helping educating people to say, well, you got to give them grace, right? And then it's within those check-ins, understanding that my experience isn't going to be their experience, right? And giving them a space where they can speak that. So while I'm not a psychiatrist or a mental health support professionals, right, we can all take a bit of responsibility in creating, that atmosphere where students and staff feel comfortable expressing those things. So it's a lot about relationship building, being empathetic and being authentic, and these issues can get very political. And at the core of this is just about respecting people and being empathetic for people.
You're a good listener.
Yeah, I try to be. I hope my wife thinks that. Sometimes we get in debates whether how great a listener I am, but more so than none, I'm a good one.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's important. Like I think about it a lot as somebody who is a talker for a living.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have to really remind myself often that it's okay to just sit back and listen.
Yeah.
And not have an opinion on each point, but instead have a summation opinion maybe at the end of a conversation. So
and you got to be comfortable with silence.
Sure.
I think that's a challenge right there. Being real uncomfortable in the beginning when it's just kind of silent. And living in that silence to allow people to give feedback, because sometimes we're in a rush, right? Like, oh, they're quiet. Let me ask something. Like, no, let them live in it for a little bit because it's coming out. They just need to find their time.
You're so right. Like in broadcasting, for example, we all have a tendency to fill the noise or to fill the air, I should say. That's a better way to describe it, with noise. But sometimes the most impactful thing is to just be silent. So everybody, this is the sports example of this. Think about the best play-by-play calls you've ever heard.
Okay.
How many of them have a prolonged period of the broadcaster saying nothing? Al Michaels' miracle call. Do you believe in miracles? Yes. Silence. That's how impactful the silence can be on the exciting front.
Right.
Or in a loss, Ducks lose. Sometimes you're better off to just let it sit there for a second. So, this is maybe a bad example because I compare everything back to a sports side of it. At least I have on this conversation with you today. But, I imagine you have a lot of student athletes that feel and compare things in that way.
Yeah, I mean it's an easy but it's an effective way to get them to understand the point you're trying to come across, right?
Sure.
If I'm talking about bias or whatever, if making a comparison to something that happened on the sports field, and that's the great thing about sports too, right?
Yeah.
It is an educational tool that we sometimes forget and don't think about because there's it's a big stage and there's money involved in it. So sometimes we lose that, but it's still one of the best ways to teach lessons, I think.
Senior Associate Athletic Director, Da'Mon Merkerson. Hey, thanks for being here.
Oh, appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it. We'll have you back. I think next time, scheduling-wise, probably like first week of April.
Let's get it. That's my birthday week.
Hey!
Let's go. Hey!
Are you an April Fool's birthday?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm early, but I'm not April Fool's.
Okay. All right. Early April. My wife's April 18th.
Okay.
So I'm very familiar with the April birthday and the various parties that are available to you based on the weather that time of year. I'm quite familiar. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, appreciate
it. We're going to get a timeout. When we come back, Melyssa Lombardi, Oregon softball head coach, coming off a weekend where they beat 3 straight top 25 opponents. It went pretty well, I'd say. Let's see what Coach Lombardi thought next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear winter, Toyota's got 20 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action, and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/22.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
Dear winter, Toyota's got 20 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action, and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/22.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
I've been driving trucks for a long time, and safety is my #1 priority. I know that my truck has huge blind spots. That's why I remember to check my mirrors often for smaller vehicles. Everyone can help keep our roads safe. Next time you're behind the wheel, try to avoid lingering in those blind spots. It can be dangerous. Let's all plan to share the road safely. Learn how at www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. Melyssa Lombardi, Oregon softball head coach, is here. Every Tuesday, it's always great to see you in the morning. How are things? You went 4-1 over the weekend. Pretty solid?
Yeah, it was a great weekend.
Good. Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic. We were just talking before we hit record here that this is like the premier tournament. And you always go play in this tournament. Is this ever going to end? I mean, is the contract with you and the Mary Nutter like indefinite?
You would think so. It's a easy trip. It's easy for us to get there. Yeah. It's great weather. I mean, we were supposed to get canceled, and they just kept talking about the big mountain that's going to tuck the rain on the other side of it, and it basically did that. But, we have a lot of athletes that are from California. We have a lot of recruits that are from California. Our families really get up and come out to this tournament. So I just think it just works for everybody. Plus, we get unbelievable competition.
Talk about the unbelievable competition. So you defeated number 19 Northwestern, number 3 Florida, number 24 Missouri in 3 straight games. First time on record that Oregon softball's won 3 games straight against 3 ranked opponents. So congratulations. I want to talk about that because the competition level, we've discussed this before. Like, you guys are scheduling up. That's what you wanted to do. Another great example of that this weekend. You had some success. What was the key?
Yeah, I think the key was for them to really get caught up in one game, one inning, one pitch, just really caught up in the moment and what they were doing, and then from there move on to the next. I think these guys have done a really good job of we talk a lot about for us and playing for us and our group and not getting caught up with what's outside of our circle. And I think going into the Mary Nutter, you definitely have to do that. I mean, the crowds are amazing. It's just such an unbelievable atmosphere. If you're new to it, you could get kind of starstruck a little bit or caught up in all of the hoopla that goes along with it.
And on that note, like, it is because it's a multi-field facility, you've got games going on simultaneously. Like, that's kind of a fun environment, isn't it? Like, you all kind of feel that, I would imagine, don't you?
Yeah, it's a great environment.
Yeah. It's
just understanding how to play in that environment is what I think is the big key.
And that's a test of how to play in the postseason a little bit, right? That's why you like these tournaments, I take it?
Yes, for sure. I think, we've been talking about postseason mentality, and to be able to have that mentality right now, not that mentality building up throughout the season. Like, what can we do coming out of the gates? What type of mentality can we have right now?
Well, and on that note, I'll tell you, the response after dropping the game to Fullerton, postseason mentality, you would have won the regional
Yes.
with the way that you went through, right?
Yeah. We would have won the regional, you know, and you talk about, okay, you got to get the first one.
Yeah.
But we didn't.
Right.
But from there, we got the next. And we got, so it's important that they understand, if something doesn't go our way, and now we, in softball, you play a doubleheader, can you let that go and get caught up in what is next? And I thought they did a really good job of that.
So what was that like, the transition from dropping the first one, and then you come out and you have some great performances? Take fans through it. Like, that was a quick turnaround, and you did it again. And we talked about it last week.
Yeah, we played a tough game against Fullerton. I thought Morgan Scott threw extremely well. I loved what she did on the mound. And we just, anytime you play the teams that we're playing, you've got to be clean in everything you do. We weren't clean enough. We didn't do enough to get that win. And so we get done with the game, and our next game is waiting for us.
Right.
And we actually have to leave that field and go to the field that's right next to us.
Yeah.
And talk quickly and get over it and get ready for the next. So can you leave what happened over on that field and start fresh in our next game?
Was it nice that you had to change fields? Like,
you know what? It probably actually.
Yeah.
It probably was good for us to change fields.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that till you said that, but it's almost like you're just getting that adrenaline rush of like, okay, we have to get ready for the next one. Like that's interesting. Coach Lombardi joining us talking softball. You talk about pitching, a 1.20 staff ERA, 6 earned runs in 35 innings. Just generally in the staff. Before I hit on a National Pitcher of the Week here in a moment.
Very happy with the staff and what they're doing. Like, we've just been talking staff. Like, that's all I've been saying and preaching to them. And I think they've really embraced it and have really done a good job of understanding, like, for this game, this is what I need from you. This is I need from you. And they're just all about understanding what it is that's theirs to get done and to do it well and then pass the ball. And I just really like how they've been going about that. It's, as a pitcher, you never want to come out of the game. You want to finish it. But I think these guys, when they go to pass the ball, you could see it in their eyes going, here, I know you're going to finish it. And you could see the one that's taking the ball saying, I got you, I will finish this.
That's cool. All right, now Stevie Hansen. Pac-12 Pitcher of the Week, multiple National Pitcher of the Week honors already. The winning pitcher against 3 top 25 teams over the weekend, 4-0, a 1.27 ERA, 13 strikeouts, 22 innings pitched. Opponents hit 179 against her. Had a 1-hit complete game shutout against number 3 Florida. Faced 2 batters over the minimum. A complete game win versus Northwestern. Wins in relief versus Missouri and UC San Diego. Second in the nation with 8 wins on the season. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
What a resume, Coach. What's been so successful? What's worked so well for her? What worked this weekend?
She was just dialed in. She had a rough start. You think about our first game of the year against Maryland, and she didn't get what she wanted. And she didn't like that. And from there, understood that she needed to adjust a couple things and has just worked really, really hard to get a couple things that she needed to get figured out. And I think, too, you're just watching her compete. She's a competitor on the mound. I think, to me, when Stevie's at her best, like, she doesn't get caught up in anything. She gets really dialed in on the situation, is very focused, and just she wants to be able to do what she needs to do for our team. And I think they all do. That's what I really like about this team, is that they want to be able to do what they need to do for each other.
And on that note, like, I talk about the resume, and I do want to ask you about what went so right against a team like Florida, but the 2 wins in relief, that's even a different mindset. And she just competes in those situations, it seems like.
Yeah, definitely. But again, it goes back to, I think the Missouri game, she came in relief. But to me, I think a big factor of that were the innings, the 5+ innings that Reggie pitched.
Yeah.
That's a powerful, powerful team. And to force them to hit the ball on the ground over and over, and then our defense to make the plays. So that's what I really like about this team. I love what Stevie did this weekend, but I just think collectively what we are doing as a group, that's what really sticks out to me.
Well, some of the other numbers then. So Reagan Breedlove in 7 innings, a 2.00 ERA. Morgan Scott did not allow an earned run, 6 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts. Closed versus Mizzou, got the save.
Yeah.
Talking about those clutch moments. So I want to ask you about the clutch offense in a minute, but the clutch pitching too, and the clutch defense. Is there a key to that? Is it just competing in the moment? I don't know. You tell me. I'm curious.
I think it's about, on defense, it's about our defense trusting our pitching staff and our pitching staff trusting our defense.
Yeah.
Because not one can do it all on their own. So. I just think they've got really good chemistry out there. Our defense was phenomenal. They made some amazing plays. I don't even know if you saw in the Northwestern game the double play at second. I've never seen a double play like that. Yeah. And it's, why we got that? It's because they didn't get their initial out that they wanted, and so then they looked to the secondary versus being upset that they didn't get the first one.
And that's a high IQ play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I do want to point out, so Oregon softball this morning, if you're listening and watching on a Tuesday, did a top 5 plays from the weekend, including that double play that you're alluding to. How about the offense, Coach? I mean, not a couple, actually a few clutch situations that led to victories. Just how valuable – well, I'll ask that next. How clutch was your team at the plate this weekend?
Clutch. And we started off, I felt like a little slow, and in our first game, and then I don't know, we just as the weekend went on, I felt like we got better and better. I've been talking a lot about how we have the additional power that we have at the plate this year, and I thought you got to see it.
How about that power?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big deal this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm curious with the clutch moments. Can you quantify like how valuable it is to win games with those clutch moments? I mean, really, like 3 times this weekend, we're talking about a clutch moment in a huge environment. Just how valuable is that confidence moving forward?
Oh, I think it's really valuable. I think we walked away from this weekend with a ton of confidence, and really, I just think every weekend we're able to see more and more who we are, what our identity is, how we function together as a team. We're just seeing that. And I think the only way that we can figure those things out are to continue to play tough competition. Whether you get what you want or you don't get what you want, it's helping us and it's building for what's coming. So
one individual that I wanted to ask you about offensively, when your 9-hitter hits 462, usually it's a good way to turn the lineup over, right? How good's Kyla been for you in the 9-hole?
Kyla's been great. We had her in the 9. We had her in the leadoff. She's been really good. She's tough. With the slapper, they can power slap, they can soft slap, they can bunt. There's all these different things as a defense that you have to try to figure out what she's going to do. And I feel like she just had our opponents baffled. They'd play her up, she'd power slap the ball through the infield. They'd play her back, she'd bunt for a hit. She just, I feel like she's just in a really good place right now and just has incredible speed. And just when you can flip the lineup over, that's huge. That's a big key.
Coach Lombardi joining us, talking a little bit of softball for another few minutes. 5 games in the Judy Garmin coming up. You're at Long Beach State. There's 2 NCAA tournament teams, again, that you're playing this weekend from last year. Only the second true road game, which is odd. Like, it feels like you guys are on the road so much, and then I read that from Greg Walker, and it was like, yeah, it's only the second true road game because it's all these tournaments. Yeah. So that's valuable too, right, going on the road again?
Yeah, I think so. Right now, just for us, our weather in the month of February, it'd be tough to play at home, so we need to go on the road. But, what's nice about going on the road is that it's not just about playing. It's these guys we're all staying in a hotel together where we spend so much time together. I feel like that's where we really get to, just really invest in each other, laugh a little bit. It's more than just the softball piece.
No doubt. All games are going to be on KWVA. Ryan Milano, who's here directing this segment right now, he'll be down there, and we'll bring you all the broadcast. No live stream for this one, so that's why Ryan's going to be there. Well done, buddy. Coach, did we miss anything? What else should fans know?
know that we're coming home soon.
That's right. About time.
Yes.
About time. Well, thank you, Coach. I appreciate you taking the time, and best of luck. Safe travels.
All right. Thank you.
We're going to time out. Come back. When we return, Oregon women's basketball Pac-12 tournament tomorrow. We're going to hear from Kelly Graves on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
This is Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The United States Deputy Sheriff's Association is a national nonprofit and the largest non-governmental provider of services to law enforcement. The USDSA assists city, county, state, and federal agencies with free safety equipment donations and officer survival training, along with cash donations to families of law enforcement officers who perish in the line of duty, college scholarships for the children of law enforcement, a citizen awareness program, and more. For more information on the USDSA and how you can help, visit usdeputy.org.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. The Toyota Women's Sports Schedule Spotlight is very, very easy today. Tomorrow, it's huge. Oregon women's basketball against Washington in the Pac-12 tournament in Las Vegas. Terry Johns with the 2 o'clock pregame show. The bracket is maybe breaking well for the Ducks. They're in the 8-9 game. They win that. They get to play Stanford. They played Stanford tough this year. I don't know. I'm excited for it. I think Kelly Graves is too. The Oregon women's basketball head coach, Kelly Graves, previewing tomorrow's Pac-12 tournament against the Huskies.
What's the mood going into this? Obviously, some momentum built up. What's the key to carrying it over?
Well, we feel a lot better. Yeah, it was a great weekend in all sorts of different ways. Put it together at both ends of the floor. Great crowds. Positive outcomes, and practice today, there was a little bit more pep to our step, and I think we're all excited about what in essence is a new chapter. We're able to turn the page and move on to a new kind of a new endeavor, right? Fresh start. So yeah, I think we're in great headspace right now.
How are you approaching this new chapter? Are you focusing on, I've heard you say if you get one game, maybe that's enough. Are you focusing on just the one? You're thinking big picture, or how are you compartmentalizing all that, I guess?
Yeah, well, same thing we did last week. Just we didn't look ahead. We didn't look big picture. I think we made a mistake 3 or 4 weeks ago thinking about what more we needed to do instead of just what's next. And so, all we're focusing on is Washington. That's enough, believe me, because they just handed it to us a couple of weeks ago. So, just let's win that first one and move on.
Anything new on Grace? Is that information pretty similar to the information we heard a couple of days ago?
Yeah, she was able to do a little bit more in practice today, which was nice. But no, I'm not sure she's going to be a go on Wednesday. I mean, if we can somehow progress and get through the tournament, maybe later in the week, but obviously we're not guaranteed anything later in the week. We're only guaranteed Wednesday's game. So, yeah, we're hopeful still. But and even if she does come back, it's been a while, so she'll be a little bit rusty.
Experiment a little bit with Kennedy and Philly. I'm just curious of kind of what can you use when does that group pairing work actually?
Well, Philly and Kennedy together can only work against certain lineups, and then we can only do so many things when they're both on the floor because it gives us great height, but one of them has to guard usually somebody on the perimeter, and that's not their strong suit. So, but it's worked well. I think ultimately, I think it's something that we can look at doing it more of, because Kennedy is a pretty good face the basket kind of player, and Philly is obviously a presence down low. So, you just kind of have to pick and choose your times. And quite honestly, this weekend we played pretty good with the small ball.
So what do you feel like you've learned about playing without Grace that can help you? That maybe, obviously last time you faced these guys, it was the first time without her.
Yeah, last time we faced Washington, Grace had just gotten hurt. So it was the first time we had played without her. We hadn't had any practices without her, things like that. And I thought last week our practices were really productive knowing that she wasn't going to be there. So we're able to really focus in on playing that small ball. And then we proved to play it pretty well this week. So I think we'll be a little bit better prepared against Washington this time than we were last. And then if Grace is able to come back, what a bonus that is to have some of her ability available.
You play a team 3 times. Do you go back and watch film from the first game as well as 8 days ago too? What's kind of your preparation for them?
Yeah, we look at everything. I mean, and then I also watch games that they played most recently. Games not against us from January probably aren't that relevant, but definitely the 2 games we played certainly focused on especially the last game because they made adjustments from the first game. So now it's our chance to make some adjustments. We did some good things against them. We had some success in some areas, and then there was areas we got to clean up. But I think it's going to be a really good matchup, actually.
You had some times maybe a month ago when India, I think clearly was kind of going to be your primary scoring option. The way Tahina's playing now, and she's not the only one. You have some other options. How can that help India going forward?
Well, it takes a lot off her shoulders. Tahina had a great weekend. I'm glad she was rewarded with Player of the Week because she really earned it. I'm really proud of Tahina. She's had a tough year, and she would admit that. And I think she's felt a lot of pressure. And just to see her persevere, I mean, the team we believe in her as coaches. Our teammates believe in her. She believes in herself. She's really showed some great character throughout. Now that hopefully she can keep that going, and now you've got that backcourt with her in India that we thought we might have. Veteran guards who are both capable of having big nights, and now they've done it in a couple of games together. I think somebody told me this weekend they did it. They both scored 15 points in a game at the same time. Yeah, is that from James?
7 times or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. But I think if we can have both of them click, and then we become a lot more difficult to guard.
I think the last 3 times both scored more than 10 in a game is your last 3 wins. So it's more complicated game than that, but that reflects just how valuable they can be to you if they're both playing at a high level.
I mean, India's had a great year, no question about it. And then now that if her running mate Tahina can have that same kind of production, then this will be a fun postseason for us.
Good stuff from Kelly Graves. And when you've got your veterans playing well, like India Rogers and Tahina Paopao, good things tend to happen. And experienced guards, that's usually what leads to victory in the postseason. Tomorrow, 2:30, Pac-12 Network, and a 2 o'clock pregame show with Terry Johns on the Oregon Sports Network. The Ducks in Las Vegas. When we come back, a little bit more chatter on Oregon women's basketball and beyond on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen.
For late nights writing English papers.
For your teen's music taste.
For dinners, where they talk more on their phone than with you.
For the first time, they call you Mom.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen, and you can't imagine the reward.
To learn more about adopting a teen, visit adoptuskids.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself.
For many military veteran caregivers, their caregiving journey starts earlier in life and lasts longer. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. We heard from Kelly Graves earlier, brought to you by the Willamette Valley Cancer Institute and Research Center. Fight like a duck with exceptional cancer care close to home. I saw Darren comment on YouTube. 3 men track and field qualified. 10 women track and field scoring opportunities make number 4 Oregon Ducks a podium treat, but I think threat at NCAA championships. But it could be a treat. Darren, I think you're onto something there. Threat, treat. NCAA championships always come up in a hurry for Oregon track and field. And, you know, the men, I think, that they would tell you that they would like to have a few more scoring opportunities than they've had this year. But after a busy weekend at Washington, the Ducks had tons of qualifiers. You know, and I think as Jerry Schumacher has come in and has taken over, some of the existing success of the program is still there. But now he's building his program. And the Oregon women, yeah, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. NCAA championships, they come quick for Oregon track and field. March 10th when things get going, if you can believe that. A lot of postseason basketball, postseason indoor track and field. Women's golf's in action today. They'll continue tomorrow. And we don't have a show tomorrow, but we do have a tip-off Tuesday this afternoon, getting ready for Oregon women's basketball. Postseason is here.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal